How viral is it gonna get? I only expect like millions of views. Fuck, I got a better answer. Where is the product team heading in the next year? I think like we've got some quite cool things to do. We're going through a bit of a change in how we've balanced historically. Historically, we had a lot of less focus on maybe the experience side of things. So there was not a lot of rigor on how we did design, how we did looked after the consumer experience. We're going to change that. We're also going after making sure there's cross-vertical loyalty. So that we're doubling down on our Bolt Plus. We're also going through a bit of a cultural change. We are the company I joined, so I joined the company 4.5 years ago. I think product managers were like 30 at that point. Now we're ballpark around 85. What worked then, some of it works now, but some of it needs to evolve. So we're going through a way of working that needs to improve. We're going through better accountability for us, better ownership for the team as well around certain metrics. So yeah, that's the high-level plan. And it's going to be great. So yeah, if you can sprinkle some pixie dust of good luck on us and hope our wins come faster, that's what would be great. I'm going to take the next question. What makes your team's job meaningful? I think like it's a privilege and a responsibility that the team has of having accountability as well as ownership of the experience of ballpark at least 1 million users every day. How you earn, how you get from point A to point B, how your food gets to you, how you're selling food. And if you can meaningfully change lives and meaningfully change user behavior, my God, it's magic. Okay, if your team needs more budget, can they get it? We're a tech company, I'm part of the tech team, so short answer is yes. If we can show value, if we show something is worth solving and it'll bring impact to the users, 100% yes. I've never heard Marcus say no. Keep going. What kind of person thrives on your team? Driven people would be my take. Like you wanna know what you kind of know what good looks like, and you're not gonna settle for status quo of the processes we have. You're resilient. You're gonna break walls. Usually you end up surviving like this, and then you're open and vulnerable. Look, like not every day is gonna be good. I really dislike when teams tell me, oh yeah, we had a year, we just had wins, because that either means you didn't try hard enough or you're pretending. So you have to kind of be a person who fails, puts their hand up and says, hey, I failed with this. This is the learning. Now nobody else in the team has to do this because I did it for everybody. Here's my plan to kind of bring it back. I call all of this resilience. I'm sure there's a better word. So who have you promoted recently and why? The person I recently promoted was Jerry. He runs our rides product. It's a hard role. He was doing multiple jobs. He's able to balance empathy with people. He's one of the kindest people I know on the team. He's basketball size, man, like player size. Like he's 6 foot something, 110 kg pure muscle. If I was him, honestly, I would never be nice to people. Like you could do nothing back to him. He's like a gentle giant, but like super focused on delivering things. Doesn't phase away from like taking risk and having conviction and getting things wrong and having good ownership, but is somehow still nice enough to his team that he's able to manage them and everyone feels good about him. So it's a combination of great empathy as a leader and great drive and good results. Don't show this to Jerry. Please don't. Ooh, really? What's the biggest mistake you've made at Bolt? Ooh, so many. Ooh. Pretty sure I shipped, like in my first year, a feature that wasn't working for 2 weeks and we didn't know. And I think there are only 10 people who know about this because like it was not very evident. Your backlog is cursed. It is. Who wrote this? This is absolutely every task you finish, 3 more appear. It's a bit low. 5 usually would have been more accurate. How do you prioritize? Look, realistically speaking, you have to prioritize based on what ships the user the most impact, or what gets them to, what solves their biggest problem. But the main play is this the biggest problem a customer has? Can we solve it? in a reasonable effort. So it's a combination of impact, effort. You can call it ROI, whatever term you want, but for me, it's like, what's the fastest value most impactful value we can ship to a customer in the fastest manner? So that's my answer. What will this card have? What's a major red flag during an interview? But if I say this out loud, then people will permanently stop doing this. If you're gonna start talking about the formal by the book process of doing product management and product design, I'm not gonna say it's a red flag because it's not like I'm gonna immediately disqualify you. It's very like, I'm not here like, thank you for telling me you've read books and you know how it works. Great. I don't want to understand what Teresa Torres thinks about product. I want to understand what you think about product. So I always would want some amount of originality. Good. What would you say to someone who's applied before but didn't get an offer? I will say, just because you got one no doesn't mean you have to get no. So please apply again. We have had a PM join who she originally applied a year and a half ago, and we actually openly said that we were expecting a few more seniority in a few more areas. A year later, she came back and said, okay, what do you think now? We thought we would hire her, we couldn't find the right role. 6 months later, she checked in again, and we said, oh, we have a role for you, let's go. What's one myth about Bolt you'd like to bust? I've never heard anything. Well, okay, to be fair, there's one that I've heard, and I'm not sure I'm going to bust it, but I might reposition it a little bit. I've heard we burn out people. In our product culture in Estonia isn't great. Specifically in Estonia, I've heard this. And I'd like to be open about it. I'm going to say, look, we might be one of the few companies locally who give this amount of ownership where you're allowed to drive product the way you want to and how you see it. And you're not a feature mill builder, but you're trying to build success for the product. How you get there, we're not going to tell you. Which makes the role a little like vague, because your job is not just to ship features, it's to make sure those features are adopted, to work with marketing, to work with sales, to work with operations. And it's a lot of responsibility, which requires you to be a little bit, let's say, relentless. But I'd rather be open that we're giving a lot of ownership and opportunity, but it comes with accountability. And I think where we fail people historically is they walked in thinking it'll be what they were doing before, which is more project management, maybe, versus what we expect. So I wouldn't say I'm going to bust a myth, but like I think our way of working in product, it might be a little different. So that's what I'm hoping to get across. What's your proudest moment at Bolt? When I got this current role, I reckon. Like when I got to run the team or lead the team, I think it's a form of recognition. I started off 4.5 years ago in a very different setting. This is not to normalize or say this can be everyone's journey. This is also not to say I'm smarter than everybody else. By some odd chance, every year I've had a different title, or every year I've gotten promoted. I think why have I gotten promoted? Because for me, like whatever my role was, I never really worked just that role. My aim was always to figure out how I could change a little bit ahead. So I'll give you an example. When I was working in the driver team, which is the driver group, which is part of the rides vertical, if I just worked on my group, I could maybe change a little bit of how the drivers behave. I could make their experience a little bit better. But if I got to the point where I educated the riders how to behave with drivers and how to not behave or how to quality control, I'm still making their lives better. If I work with how we do pricing, I can still make their lives better. So I started realizing that, okay, there are certain things that are in my power, but if I start changing things that are outside my scope of power, it makes a bigger bang even. So I always looked at the next level a little bit. Thanks, Max, for making this difficult. I will go home and update my CV and try to find a new company that I can work in.